8 points only in November, but given the inconsistency we've just been talking about, they can't afford it to get much bigger, can they?
No, they can't. I mean, 8 points is a big number, but it is early on in the season, so it's not all over yet. And the positives they can draw on is they've not been poor all season. They've put in some really good performances. And you look at some of the defeats. I mean, they lost away at Chelsea. Stamford Bridge is never an easy place to go. They lost to Manchester United. They lost to Manchester City. I mean, 3 good teams. You know, you're not guaranteed to win against any of those. And they've put in some good performances as well. They beat Arsenal. You know, they've shown that they can still play to a high level. Of course, in the Champions League, they've been impressive as well. So it's in there. It's absolutely in there. It's not like they've fallen off a cliff and all of a sudden they can't play football anymore. You know, they're still performing on occasions. They've just got to find the consistency.
Liverpool out of the title race?
Not from a points tally, but from a performance level, yes. They're not playing well enough. They don't look like they're playing well enough to make up the gap. Unfortunately, they're just away from home. They're too easy to play against. They're too wide open and making too many mistakes.
They had a better game plan than us, maybe. Or not maybe, they had that. City being 2-0 up at half-time was a fair reflection of the score, but it's not always about a fair reflection of how you play. Sometimes a set piece can influence the game massively, and that's what could have happened. But I can't agree with the decision being made on that 1-1, because for me, that's a goal. Immediately after the game, people showed me the goal City made at Wolves away last season. For me, that is a quite similar one.
But really poor from Liverpool's point of view defensively. You know, you think where they have Manchester City now, and if you say Manchester City are going to get out of there and going to score a goal.
Missing the quadrant, firstly, isn't it?
Exactly, from one end of the pitch to the other. But what was really good was Manchester City of late have come up with a tactic of being very narrow in midfield. And I just want to show how this impacts Liverpool in this goal, really. And as they're playing it really well. Again, it's really poor from Liverpool. They should be able to get a challenge and get a touch on the ball. But as this ball now comes in here, and we'll stop it now. Now, the knock-on effect of Manchester City having a really narrow midfield we'll get to. But this is Man City's midfield. And Doku there, if I can get that right there. That is Manchester City's midfield. And the idea is to create space for the fullbacks here. And it caused Liverpool huge problems. Now, let's see the knock-on effect as we get to the goal for Liverpool. Now, the reason the midfield's really narrow is that then drags Andy Robertson inside. And it means Virgil van Dijk has got to come across. So the tactic, certainly in this first goal, yes, wonderful football. We'll see that Manchester City midfield together. And now we see Núñez venturing forward. Now Virgil van Dijk has to come across. And this is really interesting on the goal. No centre-back wants to be in that position. Keep an eye on Virgil van Dijk. He looks once. He's desperate to get back to centre-back. He looks again. Andy Robertson in there. They can't move because the ball's on that side of the pitch. Now Van Dijk there again. He's having another little look inside. Again, he's desperate to move. Andy Robertson seems fine at centre-back. He knows how tough it is at full-back. But they shouldn't move because the ball is on this side. This time it comes in again. Virgil van Dijk comes out like a proper left-back, if you like. Bit more aggressive on the front foot, but he does that and he's desperate to get back. As soon as this ball comes across, Virgil van Dijk starts coming over now.
He's trying to go back in.
He's trying to go back in, but he shouldn't do, because Andy Robertson, even now, there. Look at Andy Robertson now. We just take that back a couple of frames. He knows exactly where that ball is going. He knows it's going back on that side, but what he's not saying is, I'm going over there. It's like, it's coming back there. Stay there, Virg, stay there. Virgil van Dijk doesn't want to. We got on that early on when he kept looking over his shoulder. And then when this ball comes across now to Ruben Diaz, there's no way Andy Robertson is going to get there before the ball gets there.
Is there any way that because that ball is still just outside the centre circle, Van Dijk thinks there's enough time to get back in?
Well, he obviously does think there's enough time, but you know the old adage, you know, players don't move as quick as the ball.
Yeah.
Now, it comes to Núñez, he feints, and then he goes to cross. Now, I just want to look at this match-up here in the middle between Konate and Haaland. And let's not forget Konate started the game, heavily involved in the penalty again, and he's having a really tough time. We feel like we say this week after week. Now, it's a little bit of luck for Man City because Haaland doesn't know too much about it. But what I don't understand is Konate. Well, I tell you what, I've only just noticed this. Look at Haaland's jump now compared to Konate.
And also, there is a bit of space there, isn't there? It's not like Haaland is on top of Konate to stop him.
Exactly. Now, he's done this thing where he's trying to flick the ball on. Now, when I'm a defender and I flick the ball on, that's the last resort. But I'm jumping at my highest point. I can't head it away, so I'm trying to flick it on. He's not even off the ground and he's trying to flick it on. Go and get up as high as you can. Look at Haaland and head that ball away. I don't understand at all what Konate is trying to do. There's been no real impact from Haaland and he's trying to flick it on. Haaland gets a little bit of luck. Maybe he deserves that luck the season he's had. He's been absolutely fantastic. But Konate again, when Liverpool concede a goal or a problem, is at the heart of it, and he's got a big problem away from home. A lot of his big performances this season, Manchester United, he played well. Real Madrid in midweek, he played really well. Arsenal, early in the season, he played really well. But away from home, which is when you need your centre-backs. Your centre-backs need to play well away from home if you're going to get results. And too often this season, he's gone missing away from home.
Nip to the Etihad, talked to the former Liverpool striker, Robbie Fowler. Rob, did you think at the time in the ground that there was nothing wrong with that goal?
No, I think it was a clear goal. I mean, I understand and I looked at it that obviously Andy Robbo was in an offside position, but for me, he's not in the line of the keeper's sight. The keeper can still see the ball. In fact, he dives to his left and still doesn't get to it. So I just thought it was a poor decision. Obviously, the wording came on the screen. I was a little bit flummoxed actually, because I just didn't understand how they could have come to that conclusion. I mean, there's an argument to say that even if Andy Robbo had stood up, it would have hit him. I think he ducks just for the sake of it, but I mean, it's a poor decision, and I mean, I've said before, I think Liverpool will be due and will get an apology from the PGMOL because, that's not good enough. I mean, that's poor, and I mean, obviously, I know Michael's talking there about Michael Carrick's talking about Liverpool were not great at Manchester City, and they were good value for that. But I mean, that moment could have swayed the game. It could have. I mean, Liverpool momentum going into the half. It might have upped their game a little bit, and it could have been a real pivotal moment in the game.
But it didn't, and they've just lost 4 Premier League away games for the first time in 13 and a half years. Bigger picture, why are they searching for this consistency, do you think?
Yeah, I just think it's obviously square pegs, round holes with some of the players, trying to shoehorn players into positions that they're not really comfortable. You look at obviously Florian Wirtz coming in as this wonderful player, this wonderful technician who's struggling to adapt to life in the Premier League. Whether that's obviously the energy, whether that's the physicality, or whether it's just that there's no absolute space for him to thrive. They've got him playing on the left when really that's not his best position. He's coming in. And obviously there's obviously spaces on the side then, so Liverpool are they haven't got the formation and the tactics to suit the players that they've currently got. I think even the midfield three, and as much as all the plaudits were great and they were so good at midweek against Madrid, I don't think they were great today, and I just felt they were overrun in midfield by City. City did look the best team, City were the best team, and they were good value for the win, but it could have been so much different, but Liverpool just didn't show up today. I've just thought they were very, very predictable.
No, when we look at these numbers, we know how difficult it is to defend the Premier League trophy and win it again, which is why we've seen so many teams in the past. But there we go, the fewest points in the first 11 games, Liverpool 18. There's only 3 teams in history have had fewer. So to try and find that formula, his best 11, fit those new players into a team that aren't winning all the time, it's a big challenge for Arne Slot at the moment.
It is, and it's going to get worse because obviously Isak's on the bench and he's probably going to want minutes as well. So you've obviously got Frimpong will come back from injury. He's another player that will, want to play. He's signed as a fullback to replace Trent when really he wasn't a fullback; he was a wing back. So that's a problem straight away. You've got Kerkez who again struggling, not adapting to the Premier League, but I think he's struggling to adapt to life as a Liverpool player. Obviously, Ekitike has probably been the standout player, of all the players coming in. Florian Wirtz can't, he does look out of sorts at the minute. I think he will adapt and get used to it. But out of the 450 million that has been spent on players, I mean, you could only argue saying that Ekitike is really the only one who's brought value.
Rob, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed
Cheers,
for your efforts today. Would you go along with that? I mean, only Ekitike at the moment on paper looks an initial success.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think he's been really good. Obviously, more than 125 million anyway on Isak. He's been injured. He's had no real pre-season. You can make excuses for one or two of them, but I think it's fair to say of all the players so far, then I think Ekitike has been the standout, even though he hardly had a kick today.
And he's gone 5 games without a goal now.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, Arne has gone back to the tried and trusted in recent times. I thought he would stick with the tried and trusted even more so today. I was surprised that Gakpo didn't play. I said that before the game. It's not hindsight. I was surprised he didn't play and Wirtz did. And especially on the back of 2 really good performances. I mean, that's as good as I've seen Liverpool play against Real Madrid only a few days ago. And then to put in that performance, it's the inconsistency that's the worry at the minute. They do know there's good performances in there. They have played well at times this season, but not enough and not consistently enough.
But from a coaching point of view, that's a challenge, isn't it, now, to fit these players in, try and develop relationships, try and find a bit of momentum.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that coming from Liverpool today, to be fair, that performance. I thought on the back of the week they've had, on the back of managing a big game against Madrid in midweek, I thought City topped them on that in terms of dealing with the occasion for what it was, knowing it was a big game, managing that, going into it, the mentality, knowing what it takes to win them type of games. I thought Liverpool going into the game would have carried that over, and that's part of the balance. That's the challenge of a coach, you know, to integrate players in when's a good time, when's not, and actually, if they had got to a draw today out of that game, we probably could still look at it and go, they've come through a tough week. As it stands, because the manner of the defeat today, it highlights things a little bit more, and then the extremities of each kind of decision get a little bit bigger. But it's part of the challenge. The questions are going to be there. They've spent a lot of money and they've had fits and starts and little signs and little shoots. But like Mo said, consistency in a big week, you know, to back that up today on the back of the other 2 would have been perfect. They've not had that. Kind of knocks them. The momentum goes a little bit, and it almost feels like coming back after internationals. They've almost got to start again and build what they've just had over the last couple of games.
I think Salah, he's in the team to score goals and to create goals, and he's been one of the best players in the Premier League over the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been. But I think in big games you have to double up, you have to get back and help your teammate, because Conor Bradley was having a real tough game today, and then to be left on his own, and Gravenberch was trying his best to help him and get over there, but then that leaves spaces in another position. So I think for Mo Salah, I think he just has to come back and help his teammate.
OK, there was a big decision which affected in Liverpool's minds the direction of travel in the game, and that was the disallowed goal for Virgil van Dijk. So let's have a little look at the wording that is important in the law that relates to this, and that it's offside because making an obvious action which clearly impacts the ability of an opponent to play the ball. So that doesn't require the referee to think that Donnarumma would definitely save it, but only his ability to do so is affected, and particularly by the ducking. But you disagree with that?
Yeah, I don't think it's affected at all. I think when you look at it, and yeah, Andy Robertson is in an offside position, but Van Dijk, good movement, really good header, and Donnarumma, so we can see the ball. We know we can see the ball the whole way, and Andy Robertson is to the side of him, and Donnarumma is outstretched. He has a full dive as soon as he can. There's no effect from Andy Robertson on that goal for me, and I think if we see from this next angle, Donnarumma, you see here, he puts all his weight on his right foot, which makes it hard for him to get back across the goal, but he dives as soon as Van Dijk heads the ball, and he's on his way, he's diving, and it's a really good header, and the goal should have stood for me. And this is Man United's all-time goal scorer and Everton fan, by the way, so you think, I think if he can see it, I can see it.
Yeah, we deliberately split the analysis this way. Now, this is what Arne Slot was talking about, Wayne, and this is from last season.
This is worse, I think. So I think that they've got it the wrong way round. I think this actually should be disallowed, because I think Bernardo Silva is involved with the goalkeeper, and now he comes into play.
He comes into play here, he's right in the goalkeeper's eye line. So for me, this one shouldn't have stood, and the Van Dijk one should have stood. So this is the confusion which VAR gives us.
This was a VAR overturning Chris Kavanagh's on-pitch decision that day. He was involved coincidentally with both of these. So obviously they feel aggrieved because the momentum can change, can't it? At 1-0, you get an equaliser, and it does affect the direction of travel in the game.
It would have done, but I mean, unfortunately, the level of Liverpool's performance today probably meant it wouldn't have affected the outcome. I think they got it wrong. He makes some great points. To be fair to the officials, I think the fact they gave the penalty early in the game for a player trying to stay on his feet after getting hit was a good thing for football.
Well, that ended a 4-game winless run for Manchester City against Liverpool. Impressive all over the pitch, but Jeremy Doku, in particular, at times completely mesmerising and unplayable.
He was exceptional, as was the whole Manchester City team, to be honest. I think they dominated Liverpool in all departments, irrelevant of decisions going the wrong way or right way.
We'll get on to that.
And we'll get on to that. But especially the right side for Liverpool, where I thought Conor Bradley was left isolated, hung out to dry at times, and I'm going to show you why. Early in the game, Doku, he started the game electric. He was demanding the ball. Bradley's trying to pick up Doku, think, where is he? But he's so occupied with O'Reilly as well on the left side. He's caught in between a lot, so he can't quite get tight. He's not sure what to do. Talk about switched on early in the game. Doku nicking the ball off Gravenberch, I think it is there. Going past people, using his strength. It's the start of things to come. Again, one-on-one here. He's making his intent known. I've got the pace. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to run at you. I'm going to use my strength. I'm going to try and make things happen and impact the game. That's poor from Konate, don't get me wrong. And then they get the penalty, which of course they missed. I mean, this can't happen in a game of this quality. You're playing high. Salah's there. I know he's allowed to stay high, but sometimes you have to take responsibility as a player. My fullback's struggling against a wonderful winger. I should get back and help him. Now, not every time, but sometimes, especially when you're being dominated. Gravenberch is having to get out of that central midfield position to try and get over and help Bradley because he's having a tough time. This is the strength of him, look. Incredible. Doesn't mind going on his left foot either, gets another shot away. Second half, more of the same. There you see O'Reilly bombing on, who's been brilliant, by the way, loves getting forward. Doku this time getting in the centre forward position, but again, it's problems for Bradley. And it's not like Liverpool didn't know this. Nico O'Reilly's been terrific, that's why he's in the team. You know, he loves getting forward into these areas, but when he did have help and when he did have good cover, you're still trying to stop this man at the moment who probably had the best game he's ever had in a Manchester City shirt, and I'm not exaggerating. And they just kept finding him. The space was opening up. The more Liverpool were trying to get back into the game. There's the 2v1 again. You can see Gravenberch is he's playing his normal position. He's trying to pick up Phil Foden. He's got enough going on. And then again, look, too easy, 2v1. This time, when he scores the goal, I mean, you've got Konate playing centre of midfield. You've got Gravenberch as centre back. They're all over the place. And that happened time and time again. Now, I think it's okay at Anfield a lot of the times they dominate the ball, and the majority of teams they play in the Premier League. But when you're playing the best teams, you've got to double up.
He's obviously making an action to get out of the way. He's not making an action towards the ball, which then would be deemed as an offside infringement. He's not in the line of sight, and you take Andy Robertson off the pitch there, it goes in regardless. He's not, as Arne said, he's not in any way, shape or form affecting the goalkeeper and his decision to dive for that ball. It was a fantastic head. It's gone right in the corner. You know, you can see there, Donnarumma gets a good, clear sight of it and dives straight away. You know, Andy Robertson doesn't interfere whatsoever with that. He can get nowhere near it. It's a poor decision, I feel. And as I say, he's getting out of the way of it. Now, if he's ducking and then tries to flick it on and misses it, then that's different. That's then making an action towards the ball, and then that you know, qualifies as the rule that, you know, makes it an offside decision. But that is quite the opposite, and I thought it was a poor decision. It would have been 1-1. It would have changed the game, no question about it. However, I think Arne Slot, certainly myself, I wouldn't hide behind that excuse. It could have changed the outcome of the game. But Manchester City were the best team.
Let's just remind you of Rule 11 from the offside page of the IFAB handbook, and in particular, that very last sentence at the bottom there. It says, making an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball. Is that reflective of that particular incident, do you think, Julian?
I don't think so. I agree with Michael there. I think the wording used to describe what's happened is not accurate in the description of what I've seen. He's moving out of the way, the flight of the ball, and even if Donnarumma is blindsided where Andy Robinson's position is, he's offside, so we shouldn't consider that, because if he does touch the ball, it's then clear. It's then an offside decision to be made. But yeah, I think if he's not involved in any way, the ball still goes into the net and Donnarumma doesn't get there.
Yeah, and for those people that think if you're just standing in an offside position, well, it should be offside anyway. Of course, there was a goal in this exact same fixture last season, which was given. And Szoboszlai scored. So I just, I know it's not exactly the same, scenario. It's not, Curtis Jones isn't ducking out the way, but he is in an offside position. He's not blocking the line of sight. But this one has been given, and I don't, as much as it's not an identical situation, the principles are the same. He's not blocking the sight of the goal. He's got no impact whatsoever, even though he's in an offside position, even though he stood in front of the goal, yet that one's been given. So I do think there are similarities. And as I say, I just think it was a really poor decision.
I totally agree, yeah. I think that they'll look at it and I think they'll probably have a regret on making that decision. I have to say, I think it was wrong. Pretty much everyone says it's wrong, and even I don't think it changed the game. I think City had all the answers today anyway, so we can talk about it and discuss it for what it is. I just think it's pretty clear. That was one instance really that gives Liverpool a bit of hope in the game. Other than that, I thought City were the better team by far.
Because when Liverpool or Manchester City win, it feels like they have to play really well, and they can go and win 3-4, 5-0. Whereas I do think that if Liverpool play poorly, they get beat. Whereas if Arsenal play poorly, they will still grind out a 1-0 win or a 2-2 draw or whatever it might be. So that might just play in their favour this season. But as Michael said.
All right, well, here are the match stats for this game as Manchester City definitely take 3 valuable points. Let's have a look at the standings. Arsenal still in front heading into the international break, but Manchester City breathing down their backs. And that's a story we have seen play out before. Let's get some reaction from this game. Here's Arne Slot.
I think you've got to start with Manchester City totally and utterly outplayed Liverpool.
And did that surprise you a little bit?
It surprised me, the dominance that they had, yeah. And other than maybe 5 minutes after half-time, where Liverpool looked as though they were trying to get back in it, that was it from Liverpool. I mean, we laughed at Spurs yesterday, how it took them so long to get a shot. Well, Liverpool were the same today.
Yeah.
73 minutes, Donnarumma made his first save from Szoboszlai. I mean, that just tells you how this game went. And there's only one thing that really annoyed me about the game, was Arne Slot sat on his hands in the first half and changed nothing. Liverpool were getting completely and utterly overrun in the middle of the park, and he did nothing. You've got Mo Salah standing wide on the left-hand side. He might as well have been sat on a deck chair watching what's going on. Florian Wirtz doesn't know how to defend properly, and they were getting completely outnumbered in the middle because Doku was using his brains, and he was either wide or sometimes he'd come in. I mean, he was all over the place. And he did nothing. I mean, at least affect the game. Tell people to come in, get more bodies in the middle of the park, and so they have to go at least on the outside. But do something. You can't just sit there and let the thing happen. Because all he did was sit and let the game pan out in the first half the way it had from the first whistle. You can't do that. That annoyed me more than anything else. Listen, Liverpool, at the end of the day, got what they deserved, nothing. They couldn't string 3-4 passes together at any stage. And when you're doing that against a City team that at the very least keep the ball well, then you're never going to get a hold of it yourself. So, yeah, this was absolutely 3-0 is absolutely what it should have been.